welcome back. This is the JR Wisdom channel. I appreciate you guys tuning in once again to one of my videos here. Today I have a special guest that I'll be interviewing. She's an incredible woman that's doing great things here in the area that I'm in here in the Low Country. So I'm gonna go ahead and introduce her. Without further ado, this is Anjail. She's a blogger, upcoming YouTuber, educator. She's a founder, as you can see, of the Melanin improvement movement and all-around lifestyle influencer. How's it going today, Anjail?
Good. How are you doing?
Oh man, one of the greatest days of my life. Thanks for asking. So, what's been up with you lately?
What hasn't been up? YouTube has been up. Trying to expand my brand through YouTube.
And just out of, obviously, we discussed the biggest thing here, which was the Melanin improvement movement. Can you just like kind of just briefly give me an overview of what that is? Because I know that's like, it's a beautiful logo here, but yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. So the Melanin improvement, it kind of just came to me a couple of days ago, actually. It was 2 days ago. 2 days ago, it came to me in my head. I was laying down and I started thinking about the home improvement show. And I was thinking about the logo for the home improvement show, and then I was just like, the Melanin improvement. I don't know, it just boom in my head, Melanin improvement. And I Googled it and I was just like, I wonder if anybody has ever used this before. So I Googled Melanin improvement, no searches came up. Then I started playing with the logo and trying to duplicate the logo from the home improvement. Didn't exactly like the way that looked because, you know, like the home improvement is a triangle and it's home, which is 4 letters. Melanin could not fit in that area like that. So I was redoing it. This was just last night. I just made this logo last night. Redoing it over and over and over again. Canceled the whole home improvement looking the way of the logo and just decided to go with this and making it Melanin. I had some input from my friends helping me out and creating the melanin with the different shades of melanin to represent the different colors. And then the improvement, because my channel is all about improving everything melanin. So rather that be beauty, rather that be skin, rather that be internally, which ties more into my bigger brand, which is Her Black Campus. Her Black Campus, I brand that for the soul. So with my blogs and anything that I'm writing about, it's for the inside. And I think the melanin improvement movement is more for the outside.
Outstanding, well said. So with all that, what made you want to get into blogging?
I never really wanted to get into blogging. It was more like people around me. They're like, oh, Jay, you need to make blogs, you need to make blogs. I never felt like I had the personality for it, which is weird because people were like, you have the personality for it. And I was like, oh, really? Okay. So that's just how I got into it.
And so you started out blogging on a website, or you started like back in school, or?
So I have my own blog website, so www.herblackcampus.com. Okay. So that's where I have blogs, I have poems, I reached into poetry. I started doing a couple of vlogs with Her Black Campus, just like using, what is that website called?
Vimeo?
That one.
Gotcha.
Using that, just making videos and uploading it straight on there and not uploading it to YouTube. So just 3 months ago, I decided to branch all the way and just do straight on YouTube.
Got it. So it was just like basically a natural thing to go to as far as YouTube from the Vimeo videos.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And how's the YouTube streets, so to speak, been treating you?
I mean, so I have one video that's doing really, really well. I'm just trying to just learn it, just figure it out, you know, like look at other YouTube people, reach out to other people, obviously where we're at right now.
Right.
Just reading about like what works, the things I need to do. So just like really studying the craft so that I can perfect in it.
Awesome. It's coming. I mean, as long as you're consistent, like, you know, kind of like what we said off camera, as long as you're consistent, it's gonna come about and you're just gonna keep expanding. So we've talked about that. So let's start with the origins of Anjail at this point.
Okay.
Where does the story of Anjail start out at?
So the story of me starts off in this small town called Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So I'm born and raised in Winston-Salem. I went to high school there. My parents still live there. My brother and his wife lives there. So I graduated from high school in 2013. And then I spent my freshman year at North Carolina Central University, which is in Durham, North Carolina. And then I transferred my sophomore year to the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, where I graduated with a English bachelor's and then a minor in journalism.
Got it. Awesome. So, how many siblings do you have? I know you said your brother.
Yeah. So I have 5 siblings. I'm the youngest of 6.
You're the youngest?
I'm the youngest of 6.
Oh, man. Yeah. How was that growing up with all those? I mean, not like it's derogatory. How was that growing up with so many siblings?
Well,
what would be considered
3 of my brothers are from my dad's previous marriage, so I didn't grow up with them in the household. I only grew up with the kids from my mom and dad's marriage. So just my sister and my brother.
So 3 of y'all
in the house, in the actual house, yeah.
Got it. And what was that like growing up?
I got bullied, tormented a lot. Being the youngest, my brother said to me one time, he was like, I feel like he feels like he's the reason why I'm so tough now. And I mean, he is, because he used to like just be on my neck all the time.
Yeah.
About everything.
And what's the age difference between you and?
My brother is 30, my sister is 32. Do not quote me, please don't get mad if that's wrong. And then I'm 25.
Got it. So not that much of a difference, but obviously it's a closer between your 2 older siblings in the household, 30 and 32.
Like now, or?
Yeah, you're talking about now, right?
Oh, now, like I'm like closer with my sister.
Okay.
Me and my sister lived together in Charlotte for a couple of years.
So you're 25. You said your brother was 30, and you have a
sister
that's 32. I guess I probably said that wrong as far as age goes. Okay, that's what I guess I was confused about. So 3 in the household, you were bullied, I guess, so to speak, but you felt bullied. At the end of the day, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like it was like, and there's nothing obviously positive, I guess, coming from bullying, but how do you feel like it made you overall as a person now? From because you kind of touched on it just now, that's why I just wanted to
I mean, I guess it's just like I'm very I guess it kind of drifted into my relationship, so I'm very like strong-willed and very aggressive, I guess.
Got it. And your sign is
Gemini.
She's a Gemini. Okay, so she's born in June?
June 2nd.
June 2nd. Now, my brother is born June 2nd, actually. Gemini. Okay, so I'm not really into astrology, so I guess I'm assuming what you just said.
I'm the like perfect description of a Gemini. Right. When you go and read the description of a Gemini, that is literally me to a T. The 2-sided, switching up different person up, that's me.
Got it. And how was your upbringing as far as like your parents? Was it a conservative upbringing? I know what you said was your brother and sister, but was it pretty much conservative?
Yeah.
Were your parents laid back?
I would say conservative. I didn't think of it as being that much growing up, but it would be like talking to like college friends and like telling them about my childhood compared to theirs, and they were just like, "Wow, your parents are strict." Yeah. And I was just like, "Really?
Yeah.
I mean, y'all parents didn't make y'all do this," and it was just like little things. I definitely appreciate them for it because it but it made me the person that I am today. So like just little things when it comes to cleaning, and like before I could go anywhere, we always had to clean the whole entire house. Right. My friends were always knew. They were like, "Anjail, you want to go so? You got to go home and clean the house first, don't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I gotta go clean." So it was just the little things that they like instilled in me and us that carried me to my adulthood. So just making sure that I clean. Like I'm used to cleaning.
How'd you feel at the time though?
Hated it.
You hated it at the time?
It was just annoying. Like, why I gotta clean this up? I get it now. Like, if you clean it every week, it never gets dirty. You don't want it to get to that dirty point. But I'm just like, bro, it's not even dirty. Why am I cleaning something that's not dirty?
And was it like out of your parents? Were they both on the same sheet, or was one more strict than the other, or?
I would have to say my dad was more strict because of how he would check. Like, he would go, if you were cleaning the screen door, he would go at an angle at the screen door to make sure that there weren't any streaks. Like, he would go and check. And like, if you have to dust, my dad, he's going like this with his finger to see if you dusted. So, definitely my dad.
That sounds like yeah. When you get to that thing, what you just talking about, when you get to a corner, when you gotta look
Yeah.
to check for streaks, yeah, that's something serious as far as something like that.
Right.
So do you feel, and the reason why I'm going to ask you this now is because of obviously the career that you're in right now, and we'll get into that as far as I kind of when I introduced you as far as education and whatnot. Do you feel like, and I know it's a what if question, but based off of the children you interact with now, do you feel like there's a correlation between having a two-parent household and a one-parent household?
Definitely is a correlation. I think the kids who have that two-parent household, it's just more structure, that reinforcement, just with having that partner for that, and like just reinforcing behavior, reinforcing homework or something like that, rather than that single parent who has to do that all by themselves, and they might have to work and they just don't have the time to give.
Right.
So, yeah.
Were you able to see that early on? Like, I know you're in a different space now, but when you were growing up, like your friends or people you knew, were you able to see that? Like the difference between?
I had about, like growing up, I only had 2 of my friends who had both their parents together.
Right.
All the rest of my friends had single parents.
Right. But did you was there like something that you could, not to say, but is there like specifically like you could see a difference in, I guess, rearing or the households or?
Honestly, like I never really paid that much attention to it, honestly. Yeah, never really paid that much attention to it.
But as far as it impacting you, obviously we notice how you're so accomplished now, it impacted you definitely in a positive way, or whatever, as far as that goes. So when you set out, like when you were in school, what is it that you wanted to pursue? Like before you got into, even graduating high school into college, what did you want to pursue prior to college?
Prior to college, I wanted to be an English teacher.
English teacher.
So that's why I went the route of getting my English degree. I knew I wanted to write in some capacity. Even that is still what I'm doing now.
Right.
So I just wanted to write more. So when I got to college, I was more leaning towards I wanted to write in a magazine. I wanted to like live in New York and like work as a journalist.
Right. Yeah. So that, I mean, you're obviously, some people give up on their dreams. Obviously, you're still, as you said, you're pursuing it, and you're taking a step, as opposed to some people just like let things fall to the wayside and just say it's not going to happen. So you're definitely doing that, and you set out. I mean, for people to have a dream or basically have a goal in high school and you actually finished it, what did your parents want you to? I mean, if that's the right term, what did they have a desire for you to pursue something in particular, or did they just say whatever it is that you want to do?
I think my dad was more so whatever that I could be successful in to get out of his pockets.
Right.
Probably more so. Like it was never really. I don't think they had like a vision of what exactly they wanted me to do. I guess just like whatever made me happy or whatever I was interested in. They see like I'm very interested in like working with kids and what I do now for my full-time job, and then just me being passionate about writing as well.
Right. So definitely wasn't like, we want you to be an engineer or we want you to go in the medical field, just whatever makes you happy.
Yeah.
Cool. That's definitely good parenting as far as that, because oftentimes me as a parent, when you try to push a child into a certain direction, they either do it just to please you, or they just end up not doing it at all.
Right.
So you finished high school. You chose, is this the school that, as far as college, that you wanted to go to? That was your first choice, or?
So I was a slacker in high school. My grades weren't that good.
Right.
So it wasn't, North Carolina Central wasn't, I mean, it kind of was the school I wanted to go to, but it also was like, I got to go to a school I can get into.
Right.
So Durham is about an hour away from Winston. I wanted to be far enough where, my parents couldn't just pop up, but I didn't want to be too far just in case something happened and I needed them. So I decided to go to Durham for North Carolina Central. So that school, it was a culture shock for me because that's an HBCU. I have been to predominantly white schools my whole entire life. So it was definitely a culture shock, and I just didn't appreciate it as much as I would appreciate it right now, like the person that I am today, like
Right.
me coming into, accepting myself for who I
Right.
am. I would have appreciated a lot more now than I did before.
So what was the biggest culture shock for you, being that, you were of African descent of the diaspora? What was, I know obviously you said you went to predominantly white schools in grade school, but what was, when you say a culture shock, what do you mean? I know it's a HBCU, but what do you mean by it being?
I guess just the environment in general, like the environment of the school, like where it was located, because it's located in the surrounding areas around it is, low income areas.
Right.
So that was mainly it. Like I was just scared, and it's so bad, like to say that I was scared, but I was scared. So in the area, I just wasn't used to being around it.
Right, as far as your safety, this is in Raleigh-Durham area.
Yeah.
And you said you spent the first 2 years?
No, just my freshman year.
Just your freshman year.
And I transferred my sophomore year.
And was that the reason why? What was the reason? What was the trigger that made, or you already had that plan?
I already had the plan. I just wasn't happy there. So I knew I wanted to go to UNCC. My sister lived in Charlotte. So I had her in my ear, like, yeah, you can come to UNCC. We can live together. Da, 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 da. She was pregnant with my nephew at the time, so I ended up staying with them, being with my nephew. So it was just felt like the better move. Charlotte seemed more me than Durham.
So Charlotte is about what, an hour south of
Charlotte is still an hour from Winston.
Mm-hmm. So either way, yeah, you're about an hour away. And so you had it planned before you even.
I think like by the end of probably the first semester, I already knew I was going to transfer to UNCC.
Right, but it wasn't just the safety, or you just that it was just a combination of things.
Yeah, just a combination of things, and just me not being happy there.
So with you transferring, what was the difference between, obviously what you stated, how much different was it?
It was completely different, like just the environment, like the school, the professors, the classes. Actually, when I transferred, so I transferred from Central with a 3.4. Then that following semester at UNCC, I had a 1.7 and was on academic probation because it was just that much of a difference. Like I was just held, and I'm not even gonna say that to like say anything bad about what the professors, expected from me, but I did feel like that it was easier there than it was when I went to UNCC. Like I felt like I was graded harder, and it might have also been like played the fact that I was dealing with depression at the time too. So I was dealing with depression going into UNCC as well. So that kind of played a factor, and then like just the course load changed. So yeah.
So you went from you said a 3.4, and you changed environments for the better, but obviously, as you said, it was a mental health thing you think that contributed to it. So did it turn around within like your sophomore year, or was it your junior year?
Yeah, so the following semester, because I was on academic probation, so I had to go like see a mentor every week, and she like stayed on top of my grades and stuff. So it turned around that following semester, but it was just a adjustment for sure from Central.
So do you feel, and I think you hinted at it, do you feel like it was more lax that this is it? And I don't want to give a HBCU because I've never attended college, but in your opinion, do you feel like it was just lax because of that?
I don't feel, and I don't want to talk bad on the HBCU either. So I don't know if it was that it was too easy for me, because I always remember this one time in class where we had to just write a simple paper in my English class, and he was passing the papers out, and he was talking about how bad, this was the first paper we had written. He was talking about how bad the papers were. Everybody had did a bad job except for one person, and I was sitting there and I was just like, I've never been the smartest person I've never felt like I was the smartest person in the room, and it was just like it was just like, oh. And I'm not like, and I was that person the only person that got the good grade on the paper. And I had never felt like that before. I had never been in a classroom where I was the smartest person in the room. And I don't know if that may have just been that English class because it was just a general English class. I'm pretty sure that it was like, of course, there's educated people at the HBCU, but just me being in that specific English class, it was like the things that we were learning and going over. I was just like, I don't already know this. Like it seemed really, yeah. But also, you have to think about the fact that I am an English major, so I've been writing my whole entire life. So, granted, that probably played a major factor in why I felt like it was just too easy for me, and that I wasn't being challenged.
So, what was because you mentioned a course load difference? What triggered this course load difference, like between the two schools?
I mean, it could have easily also been, freshman year, you're taking general courses, and then sophomore year, I'm getting into my more major stuff. So that's why the course load difference. So I don't completely blame it on the HBCU. It's like, it's a lot of factors that could have went into it.
So for people watching, would you recommend, I mean, I don't know how many you visited or how many you might have, people you've been in contact with. Would you recommend people starting out with HBCU? What would you recommend for like a high school or even someone who's deciding to pursue higher education into college? What would you, someone of color obviously, what would you
I definitely would recommend going to HBCU, and I definitely would recommend, like just having that community. I think like it's great that I established what I established coming from a PWI, but I just imagine how different it would have been if I would have established myself at a HBCU and had that community around me of people who are already on the same mindset of what we're trying to achieve, when you're already having those professors who are trying to help you achieve and your people supporting you. So I definitely would recommend going to HBCU. Like I said, for me, I didn't appreciate it in my time. And I did, like, if I were to ever go back to grad school, I would want to go to HBCU and really experience it and really appreciate all that it is.
So I'm going to jump forward a little bit. So at what point did you, I know you said, self-awareness and whatnot. At what point did you look back and say, I really enjoyed or I really appreciated the time that I was at the HBCU, as opposed to when you look back at it, now?
It was like a couple of years ago once I started appreciating who I was as a person and kind of appreciating my color and appreciating, being comfortable around our people and other people that look like me that are trying to achieve something and better themselves. And that's all the HBCU is. Like, all these people here are going to this school because they're trying to better themselves and educate themselves and make something better for themselves. And it's a beautiful thing. So looking at that, looking at the bigger picture of that, thinking, how the HBCUs are built, and I'm not going to go in and talk like I know all about it with the history and everything, because I don't. But just the general idea of it and what it represents.
Awesome. So, with that being said, so you move, you transfer, and your grades are improving, everything's turning around. You are approaching your senior year. What's your plan at this point?
Repeat it. I'm sorry.
You're fine. So you're already established. You said your grades have turned around
in college.
You turned everything up. You're approaching your senior year. What is your plan during your senior year? What did after you graduate?
Yeah. So my junior year in college, I started working for the nonprofit that I work for now.
Okay.
Because at the time, I was a wings leader, which is like a mentor for elementary age kids. So I was working as a wings leader, and I completely fell in love with the nonprofit. And it was like at that point I knew, like, writing kind of went on the back end. Like, I just fell in love with what I was doing. I was just like, I want to pursue a career with this. So senior year, I was more focused of knowing that I wanted to pursue with the nonprofit.
Got it. So you were already plugged in your junior year, and you kind of knew that you were going to go with this establishment after you graduated. So you mentioned Wings. Can you kind of elaborate more on what that is?
So Wings is a nonprofit. We serve after school programs our goal is to teach social and emotional skills to at-risk kids.
Right.
So we have programs in Charleston, which is where we were founded at here in Charleston. Programs in Charlotte, Columbia, and Atlanta.
Got it. So you obviously transferred directly into this position. Where did you start at? Like once you graduated, at what was there a particular school that you started at? You don't have to name names, but like.
So I started
when you entered
I started at a school in Charlotte, at elementary school. I worked at 3. Did I work at? I worked at 3 elementary schools in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then I worked at a school when I moved to Charleston. I worked at a school here in Charleston, and then I'm at a different school now in Charleston.
Right. So you started in Charlotte, and what made you want to come down here to the Low Country from Charlotte? Because Charlotte is, you know, as a lot of people, I guess, around the U.S., you know, we know either Charlotte or Atlanta as kind of like the Black Hollywood, or where successful, you know, people of the African diaspora tend to migrate to. So why depart Charlotte to come here to the Low Country here in Charleston?
I just saw more opportunity for growth for me here with my job. Our corporate office is here in Charleston. So, and originally, like when I first went in, I knew I wanted to move up to corporate. So I was like, well, I might as well go ahead and make that move now and go to Charleston and invest in my career.
And what year was that when you actually came down here?
I moved here in the beginning of 2019. So I've only been here like a year and a half.
Got it. So have you noticed a difference in terms of, you know, I mean, I know for the most part kids are kids or whatever, but have you noticed like any difference between Charlotte and here as far as education and parenting, or the reaction as far as?
I think education is, I don't want to say worse, but it's just like the kids are more behind here in Charleston than in Charlotte.
Right.
Around the board, yeah, the kids, like, they're the same, like, kids are kids, but definitely like at the level of education, and then also with the parents, like the level of education with the parents as well.
And why, just out of curiosity, in your opinion, I mean, obviously, we can't really say exactly, what do you think is the reason for that? Or it could be a contributing factor to why it is that way?
I definitely believe it's the school system. The school system down here. Just like working in the school system and just seeing how certain things are played out, like what the kids are being taught versus what's being reinforced versus the homework that's being given, compared to how it was in Charlotte. Like kids having different homework each week that related to what they were learning in Charlotte versus me coming to Charleston and they having the same homework sheet every week and the numbers are just changed.
So do you think it's because of, and I'm not trying to jump into politics, but do you think it's because of funding, or what do you think in terms of, just to harp off what you just said?
Okay, so like honestly, I don't know much about it in that depth to speak on it. If I had to guess, I would say funding, but like I said, I don't know. I don't like to speak on things that I don't really know. I don't know that much in depth about it to speak on it.
Because I know, it tends to be, and it's obviously a thing in the United States, education reform, so on and so forth. And the biggest complaint is funding, I guess, for the most part, especially in, inner city schools, low income schools, so on and so forth, based off, the argument of the tax brackets or taxes in the area. Obviously, supposedly the higher the taxes are, the better the schools, things like that. So, me personally watching different speakers or supposedly subject matter experts on it, they point out, obviously, in a lot of the lower income or inner city schools, this is just me, I'm not an expert on this at all, but just asking about it being a funding issue. And I think Baltimore was kind of like what you just spoke of, with Baltimore being one of those places that, and obviously we're in Charleston, but Baltimore being one of those places as far as like some boys not even being able to, perform basic reading. And I think it was somewhere in Los Angeles, I believe. I forgot the exact place where they were affected the same way. So I'm just, that's why I was kind of asking that, your opinion on it. I know you're not exactly in the classroom, in that capacity, but I know you do see and interact with children at a certain level. So, you touched on what was it? What did you say? The
Social and emotional learning.
Social and emotional learning. How does that fit into what role do you think that plays into the whole learning process?
I definitely feel like it plays a major role, especially with the kids that we work with. They're facing all this adversity, and it's like they don't know how to deal with the things that they're going through. So it's just like with anything in life, if you aren't in a clear mental space, how can you focus on school? Like, how can you focus on what's going on? If you're stressed about, your mom's working, I don't know where you're gonna get your next meal from, and you don't know how to express that, you don't know how to deal with that, you don't know how to talk to somebody about that, you're not gonna be able to focus in the classroom.
Right.
And I definitely think it plays a major part because we focus on teaching them about their emotions, teaching them how to deal with their emotion, teaching them how to react in a certain way, because anytime a child is acting up, they're not acting up just because they feel like it. It's something that is going on. It's some reason that they're doing or acting that way. Either rather they want attention or they just don't know how to express the emotion that they're feeling any other way but to act out. They could be completely frustrated that they don't know how to do something in the classroom. And I've seen that a million times. Like, kids are frustrated because they're behind and they're doing their homework. So instead of doing their homework, because they're so frustrated that they don't know how to do it, they start acting out. And they start, being the class clown. They start talking back and doing all this, causing a scene because they just don't know how to express, I'm frustrated. I don't know how to do this. And we tell them you're not gonna know how to do everything. You're gonna have things that you're good at, you're gonna have things that you're bad at.
Okay, so Anjail, what's your, now that you're down here and you're involved in the Wings program, what do you have planned? Like, what's your upcoming plans in terms of, moving forward professionally, and so on and so forth?
So with everything going on, it really is just up in the air of what we're really going to do. But just finding some way to impact our families and impact our kids in some capacity. When the pandemic started a couple of months ago, we had moved to virtual work, but it was just kind of hard to get the kids engaged. So now they're mainly coming up with ways, trying to figure out how can we still impact our kids and get them to be engaged in the things that we're doing virtually, if that's the case where we don't get to go back to schools and have our programs in a traditional way.
Gotcha. So if it were up to you, how would you go about doing it? Not, obviously you're not speaking for your school district or anything, but if Anjail was basically overseeing it, for lack of a better term, how would you go about implementing, returning to school?
I think just for the economic status that we work in, the kids with low income kids, definitely finding a safe way to return back, because the virtual, just from those past few months before, it just wasn't working. It had a whole bunch of kids who weren't logging on. So I don't know if it'll be different because this will be the new norm. So that might, have parents be more serious about it. Like, this is the new norm of what we're doing. So they're going to be more inclined to make sure that their kids participate, or maybe not. So I think a good solution would be finding a way for them to come back, hiring more teachers, and then having smaller classrooms, but at the same time, hiring more teachers is more people in the building, or separating the schedules, but still providing an alternative place for the kids to go who aren't in school that day, that being provided from the school.
Right. So basically more classrooms, but not as many students.
Not as many students in the classroom.
Got it. And I guess that's as far as effective, that's like a double. That's like a win-win, because you have less students in the classroom, so that's more focus on the students as well as the whole pandemic separation thing. So I think that's an excellent idea, you know, to like kind of slowly move back where everyone's able to implement these measures, so on and so forth. So for viewers who are watching, you know, young ladies, young men, but you know, young ladies for the most part, what advice would you give these young ladies that's wanting to pursue their dreams and pursue, you know, specifically in education, so on and so forth, or someone who wants to follow in your path?
One thing of advice I would say for me, be consistent. Let's be consistent. I think about all the time how much further along I would be if I would have just been consistent. I started Her Black Campus in 2015. If I would have just, when I'm consistent with it, I saw the numbers. I saw the people engaging with it, but then I fall off. And then I try to get back in. It's like you have to regain your audience all over again. Consistency. Like, consistency is key. Just be consistent with it. Even when it may seem like nobody is watching, nobody is paying attention, nobody is appreciating the things that you do, just keep putting it out. Somebody is watching, somebody is appreciating, somebody is being motivated by the things that you're doing.
So how do you, just from your perspective, because I know a lot of people have trouble with this, many people I've encountered have trouble with it. How do you motivate yourself, and how would you recommend, you know, someone developing that mindset as far as having a, you know, being motivated, proactive, self-starter?
So it's definitely something that I haven't 100%, you know, accomplished, but for me personally, I'm very hard on myself, and the only thing that I'm ever afraid of in life is failing. And failing in the sense of not achieving the things that I really want out of life. That pushes me every day. I don't ever want to get to a certain point where I'm like, I wish I would have done that. I don't want to have that thought about anything, any of my dreams in my life. So that pushes me every day to continue to do the things that I want to do to push me towards that goal.
Are there certain things that you practice to get into that mindset, or like, as far as advice you could give, or is it just something that, do you have like a ritualistic thing, or?
To get me into the mindset of like not wanting to fail?
Yeah, or basically like to attack something, or to basically not procrastinate, you know?
I procrastinate. I procrastinate.
So,
I procrastinate a lot.
But you get things done though.
I do get things done. I do get things done. I procrastinate. I try I can't force stuff. Like my brain, my creativity, it flows. It's like my personality. It does when it wants to do something, it'll do it. When it doesn't, it doesn't. And I don't push it when it doesn't. Like, I won't force myself to write. If I don't have anything to write about, I will not get behind my computer and try to write. If I feel it, I feel it. So I kind of just go with the flow, which kind of makes me not be as consistent, because if I don't have an idea for something, I don't really try to force it. I like it to be like natural and organic.
Absolutely. So no mantras or anything that you have, or like, you know.
I've created this one little schedule thing that kind of keeps me proactive. I have like this dry erase board with sticky notes on it, and so this started during the pandemic. I made it this different time slots that I have, and I have like a sticky note, and they're color coded for the things I have to do. So I have like work, housework, when I'm gonna have lunch, when I'm gonna do like Her Black Campus, Melanin improvement stuff. And the thing that I like about the sticky notes is I take them off. So at the end of the day, I can see what I've accomplished. If I didn't do it, I leave the sticky note on.
Very smart. Very smart. Organization is key, and you touched on. I think that's awesome too, that you have it written down, because if you see it, I think they teach this a lot, you know, in different aspects of what I call mental alchemy. You know, as far as learning things, if you see it constantly, even in, you know, sales. I know a lot of things in sales. As long as you keep looking at it, the law of attraction thing you're gonna eventually either make yourself do it, or, you know, it's gonna happen eventually. So that's awesome, an awesome idea right there, as far as having it written down and everything. So do you have any plans on putting out any
material.
other than blogging, like any books, or do you already have books or
So I have
pamphlets?
many novels that I've started to write. Consistency plays a part in that too,
Right.
and me actually finishing one. So books that I want to get out, merchandise that I want to put out, definitely branching more so of putting merchandise out with the Melanin Improvement, get merchandise out with that, and merchandise, books. Eventually, I really would like to write a TV show slash movie, something. Yeah.
Right. So when can we expect some of this, the first pieces of the merch and things like that?
You could definitely expect merchandise by the end of the year.
End of the year.
Definitely expect merchandise by the end of the year.
There you have it. I mean, that's sooner than later. The end of the year's coming up. So
There's also Her Black Campus merchandise that is already available on the Her Black Campus site. Like my Her Black Campus logo shirt as well.
We'll have that link. We'll have the link in the description for all that Her Black Campus as well. So, what would be the biggest out of your journey so far? And I know you mentioned some things. What would be, other than just pursuing your dreams, what would be the biggest thing that you would want to tell young adults right now as far as life and what you've learned? The biggest piece of advice that you would give? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but just,
Biggest piece of advice would be faith. Having faith. Have faith that what's meant to be for you will happen. Have faith that when something doesn't happen, that is just how it is meant to be. Don't dwell on things that didn't happen for you. Everything happens for a reason. That's literally what I live by. Instead of me being wrapped up and being disappointed and something happening, just knowing that something better is coming along for me. So definitely just focusing on faith.
Absolutely. And what was your we're gonna go ahead and sign off here. And what was your? Go ahead and plug your channel, your Facebook. I know you got a Facebook page. All your sites. Where can people find you at?
All right. So you guys can find me on Instagram at Her Black Campus, Twitter Her Black Campus, Facebook Anjail Shabazz, and also Facebook The Melanin Improvement.
And you can find the links in the description as well. So this has been an awesome conversation. I appreciate you joining me, Anjail.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, no worries. I know that this is going to help out a lot of people who's watching the channel and who's up and coming, probably are confused, don't know what they want to do in life, and to see a positive woman of color doing big things and is continuing to do big things is just awesome. So once again, I appreciate you, and we want to celebrate you in this moment right now. And that's all I have to say. I appreciate all you guys tuning in. Make sure you guys check out all the links in the description to find out more about Anjail and follow her. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. You guys have a great day. Peace be upon you and the mercy and blessings of the Almighty. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to Anjail's channel. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. I'm out. Peace.